All right, so we're going to be doing a name change here for the introduction. We're now going to go with the Wrestling Still Cool podcast. A little bit of a deviation from 20 by 20, but this became a better suited name for what we are discussing, especially since we tend to go to the past. I think that would be more relevant to our discussions anyway. Either way, my name is KM. That's Mark.
Yes, welcome y'all to Wrestling. The Wrestling's Still Cool. Mark, how y'all doing?
All right, so you're gonna have to kind of catch me up a little bit here because, as you and I discussed off-site or off recording, that I haven't had a chance to really watch what's going on. So, from what I'm gathering, in the most recent episode of Raw, they had a Retribution there for the first time in a while.
Yeah, actually being the in the ring a while, but they still did promos here and there, throughout the show, parts of the show. And was it 2 weeks ago? They had Retribution chase down a few wrestlers, and Angel Garcia was one of them, and his group. They chased them down, and nothing really came about it after that. But still a fan though of Retribution. She's still looking forward to seeing what more comes out of that.
So, from when I saw Retribution before, they're in mass. Do you think they're going to do something like what TNA did with Aces and Eights and kind of do a unmasking here and there, and then they're going to have this big person revealed as the leader?
Well, how I would book it is that I don't know if I would go necessarily. I mean, it would be a bad idea to go with each person takes off their mask at different times. But if I were them, I'd just hold off for a while with them. Keep the mask on, keep it more mysterious. If you do it too soon, it's kind of killjoy on the mystery. Who are these people?
Right. And so one of the things I was reading earlier today is, I guess, WWE doesn't know what to do with Keith Lee, and he's not a faction guy. I don't think he really fits in with a faction, but
yeah,
I do think if they don't know what they're going to do with this Retribution, and they don't know what they're going to do with Keith Lee, basically revealing him as the inside guy wouldn't be a bad idea.
It puts the spin on things, but I just don't feel it fits for that, at least right now. I just think continuing as what he's doing, but as far as continuing to be more of a face and making more of a name in that manner would be, I think, a little more better idealistic for him. There are some people they've been rumoring for a little while now who can be behind. So who they choose to be behind the Retribution. There's even the word for Reigns, and I thought Reigns could have been the guy, but I guess maybe this wasn't the right time or wasn't the right spot for it.
I don't really like Reigns for it. I prefer. So, okay, to bring up something, one of the comments I read was talking about Reigns and Jey Uso going into this upcoming pay-per-view, which the name is escaping me at this moment. But they're talking about that match and that, they should bring out Rosie and do all this and that. Honestly, we can't bring out Rosie because he's passed away, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring out Rikishi, especially considering Reigns has openly discussed on interviews that he kind of grew up going over to Jimmy and Jay's house and hanging out with Rikishi and whatnot. It wouldn't be a bad idea if Reigns. I like Jey Uso, but I wouldn't mind seeing him destroy Jey Uso to kind of further the story along and basically bring in Rikishi, and Reigns basically does what he does of being a heel. This would be the only time I'd probably have Reigns talk, but I would make sure that Paul Heyman wrote the thing. I wouldn't be. I think that's more better suited. I kind of prefer him as I'm by myself because you guys don't, you didn't take me seriously, and now I'm gonna make you pay. So I really don't like him for Retribution. can't really think of anybody else that they could possibly use.
Did you, when he said Rosie, did you mean Jamal?
No, Rosie. Rosie is Reigns' brother.
Yeah, well, I was trying. Yeah, it's when you said that. That's why I was like, did you mean the other name? But anyways, that was
no. Jamal was Umaga. No, I didn't mean Jamal.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
I definitely meant Rosie.
Okay, no, I forgot those. Sometimes it was those names. When it comes to tag team, sometimes their name, the beach wrestler kind of can get a little bit confusing once in a while. So yes, we have so many teams after. Yeah, the tag team name is one thing, but there's the singles name in there. It kind of gets a little lost sometimes because when you have a tag team, especially when they're not known as a singles competitor, it gets a little confusing and who's who and what's their name sometimes. But anyways, if he was alive, that'd be interesting to bring in there. Of course, it'd be interesting to bring in Rikishi as well.
Yeah. Well, the only reason Jamal stuck with me is because I did like 3 Minute Warning when that was a thing. And when they split up and Rosie went to do Superhero in Training, I remember when Umaga came out, I'm like, man, this guy looks really familiar. So I ended up having to look him up. Yeah. And kind of going back to the whole, it seems like WWE doesn't know what they're doing. Apparently, because Paul Heyman is no longer in charge of Raw, that they're kind of splitting up Angel Garza and Andrade, which is a huge mistake. That was a great team to have right there. Granted, they weren't using him very well with the Street Profits in that whole feud because that became a weird, convoluted mess. Oh, speaking of the Street Profits, apparently Ivar from Viking Raiders got injured. He's going to be out for a while.
Yep, he has some neck issues. It's more serious than they thought, so he's going to be out for even a while longer. And Eric, I think is his partner's name. He was in there last night against Lashley. So I'm thinking maybe they're just to have something to do with Eric. They're going to have him probably hang out with Ricochet and Apollo Crews. That's my guess. The way it seemed, at least. We'll see how that unfolds. More time to come, but I think it'd be an interesting group, anyways. But something to do.
Yeah, I've kind of feel bad for the Viking Raiders because they've had the worst naming situation with WWE. I mean, you take a monsters like War Machine, you make them War Raiders. Okay, that's not as good as a name, but I'll give it to you. And then they come up and they're the Viking Experience. Then you get changed to the Viking Raiders, which, from what I gathered, they actually kind of like being those characters. But it's just the name War Machine was a great name, and it's all gone at this point.
Yeah. Hey, you talking about the tag team division, and we brought up those guys. What do you think about Cedric Alexander joining up with the Hurt Business?
I don't like it, but I give a lot of credit to MVP because MVP basically grabbed a bunch of people that were not doing anything and made them like one of the most must-see people on the show. Like Bobby Lashley was in that dumb storyline with Lana. You had Shelton Benjamin, which I think he was pretty much just losing every match at that point. And then now Cedric Alexander, who wasn't really doing much besides the whole thing with Hurt Business. So he MVP basically formed another version of Evolution.
Yeah.
So I have to give a lot of credit to MVP for that. And with that, they made Bobby Lashley a monster, which is what he needed in the first place.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think they're doing pretty good with the Hurt Business angle and doing good things with that. I was a little bit surprised. It was a good promo in the back and a good way ending off Raw's Hurt Business stepping in to have security on the Retribution. They had a promo in the back with oh my gosh, what's his name? The guy who appears to be the GM of Raw, so to speak. Adam Pearce. They had in the back.
Oh, right,
and they're saying, "I
the
appreciate
middleman."
Yeah, him basically, and they're, "I appreciate you guys volunteering." He's like, "We're not volunteering. We'll send you our bill." So then that was funny there. And then they had Drew and Keith in the main event, and Retribution came out and put the tag Drew and Keith, and here comes the Hurt Business. And I thought the ending was okay. The only thing about wrestling in general is that sometimes when the cameras go off, it's like, especially in the main event, with closing the show, it's like, okay, you wonder. I know it's in reality what is going on, but it makes you think kind of what they do when they all got up, kept on fighting. It's just like it's just a storytelling part of it, It just
yeah,
that's all.
Kind of like what I think. I'm 90% sure Nitro did this. And anytime Nitro went over, they kind of kept it rolling for maybe 20 minutes or 20 minutes, and then on the next Nitro, like they would kind of lead in. This is what happened or even Thunder, when Thunder became a thing. This is what happened at the end of Nitro when the cameras went off. They kind of get you like, oh, okay, that was the resolution. And even if it was just the guys walking off, you know what I mean?
I can't remember right now. I'm sorry, Richard.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I can at the top of my head right now. I can only remember one time that WWE showed something that happened the week prior, and they showed the continuation of it. And actually, I was there for that show, but I don't remember not too many times did WWE ever talk about the following week. Hey, this happened after the show went off the air, unless they show it like on the www.com. It's usually just interviews, something like that, but it's not what happened, with everybody going on after that. But as even as a kid, what happened. You didn't, especially from WWF back then, you didn't get that continuation of, hey, when we were going off the air last week, we had the Stone Cold had the chair and he's about to hit somebody, but we went off the air, and they never covered that. That sucks. But
yeah, and it kind of gives that. So one of the things Bischoff likes to talk about, it gives off the impression that anything can happen, and that's what the positive side of it is. We all know it's predetermined, but being able to actually say, okay, well, we didn't catch this on camera because we had TV time, we had to cut it out. Yeah. Kind of like where AEW will do TV timing remaining for matches. Yeah. So it's not a bad idea. It's kind of like what would happen if a sports thing went off too early or anything like that. Like that. I remember a baseball game in 2004 that ended up going on for almost a full day. Went on for like 22 hours. They didn't air the whole thing. They had to show the ending on the next day.
Yeah. Like I say, it's predetermined, but it's like, especially for the kids out there to watch it, it's like, well, here it is, 11 o'clock for Raw, and these guys are still in there fighting or about to fight, and it's like, okay, we all know it's a show, but in reality, or being realistic about it, what happened to those guys? And that's one thing that gets aggravating. And it was aggravating when I was a kid. It was like they're in the ring about ready to fight, or some situations going on they never covered. So anyway, that's how I felt as a kid, and as an adult, there's still things that I don't like to happen like that.
And speaking of with Raw, do you remember back in the day at from 9 to 10 it was actually called Raw, and then from 10 to 11 it was called Warzone? Yeah, I
do remember that. Yeah,
that tripped me up the first time I saw it because like you and I talked about before, I was a WCW guy.
Yeah.
I remember one of the times I started watching Raw, I'm like, why does it say Warzone? That doesn't make sense. This is Raw. Why does it keep saying Warzone?
Yeah, it was a little different.
Or no, it was Raw is War, and then Warzone.
Yeah,
and I guess I think when I looked this up before, it was something along the lines of the first
content.
hours. Yeah, the content. They had more freedom during Warzone than they did during Raw's War because it was later at night, so kids shouldn't have been